Excellent. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining everyone for this extra special webinar with a very special Ciara Feely, which is an expert in the industry in the and author of Steps to Win in the Meetings Market. It's fantastic to have you with us again, Ciara. I know we've had you with us before, so we're really grateful that you could do this again with us.
Thank you.
Especially, can also say, especially considering the great comments that we had about this session in previous years. It's fantastic to have you back.
Yeah, it's great. Look, you always attract a wonderful audience. And you know what? This is a brilliant industry. I think the most amazing people work in this industry. So it's always fun. And of course, thank you for that introduction. I did a webinar previously. It wasn't with yourselves in the last 2 months. And I was introduced as a veteran in the industry. And I was thinking, oh man, am I at that stage veteran? To me, veteran, you should be at least 60 plus. But anyway, I'm not that age. I'm not that age. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, everybody, and we'll get started. Okay, great. So Achilles and myself are going to share our wisdoms and insights with you for the next hour or so. But what we'd love to know, guys, is what shows are you attending this year? There's some wonderful shows in the industry, and I think it's interesting to share that and to see what's happening and at what level, of course, everybody is at on the webinar today. Okay, so just perhaps share that in the chat window there. So what we're going to cover, guys, number one, effective strategies to walk away with more business opportunities, okay? Really important. Number two, how to stand out and sound different, okay? It's about making yourself be more interesting and pop out in the client's mind, because they're meeting with hundreds and hundreds of people at these shows, and we want to make sure that you're standing out and sounding different. And of course, some tips on what to prepare, because it's critical the work that you do in the next month that will help you, number one, to attract more of the right kind of leads, and number two, it's going to help you to convert more and walk away with more return on investment from IMEX and from these shows in general. So we're going to go to a quick poll, guys, and what I'd love to know is what lead generation tactics are most effective for you, okay? What lead generation tactics are most effective for you? So this would be a mix of sales and marketing campaigns, okay? So I'll share the results with you when we're finished. I'll just leave that open for another 10 seconds.
Can I just say I love this feature, Ciara? It's fantastic.
It is. It's wonderful, isn't it? And
Yeah.
people are always curious to see what's working also. So trade shows, yay, are coming out on top. We're relieved to see that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, we still have people voting, so I'll just give it another 5 seconds, guys. And great, I'll end the poll now. And I'll share the results.
Oh wow, that's a big win. Oh, word of mouth. I'm surprised there.
Word of mouth is very interesting, and it's actually critical. I can talk about it a little bit later, but I hear this in all the workshops I run with hotels and venues and with people who work in this industry. Word of mouth always does come up, Achilles. But then I ask, do you have a strategy around word of mouth? And very few businesses have. And for me in my business, it really has changed everything. But I have about 4 or 5 different strategies around what you can put in place here. And of course, in this industry, it makes a really big difference. So Facebook isn't leading here. It has on some of them. Well, it has come up, shall we say, but nobody has clicked it here, which is interesting. LinkedIn, and that's good to see. I've been experimenting with LinkedIn myself. Trade magazines definitely gone down, education sponsorship, but fantastic, overwhelmingly, trade shows are working for people, because you know what, it's a people industry and people love to meet, and it's really critical in this industry. there is Eduardo Chaillo, is a gentleman. He is the global head of the Americas for Maritz Travel, and I met him through Twitter, actually, and then I met up with him in person when I went to IMEX. But I asked him, you know, what do you think is really critical about these shows? And he said that planners go to these shows to do a lot of research, to start connecting with people, because when they get a lead, they want to be able to say, oh, I've met the right venue, I've met the right partner, I've met the right service company to help me with that. They don't want to have to go out in the rush of trying to organize an event, an incentive event, a conference, a meeting, a summit, whatever it may be, and start to build the relationship. They ideally want to have started that. So that's a critical thing to keep in mind for your ROI at these particular shows. So format of today, guys, really casual. You know, put up your hand, answer or ask a question in the Q&A box. Because if we don't get to answer it, we will have a record of it and we will get back to you. And for sharing comments and all of that, please do respond in the chat box because everybody can see that. Dov Gordon, he's a fantastic marketing mentor of mine, and I just love the way he puts this, that the most powerful skill that you can develop is to make people interested in you. And I think that that is a really big outcome to walk away from these shows having done. And of course, we want to put the preparation now into making sure that, that we are interesting to our potential clients. So little prize today, guys, for the most amount of meaningful questions and interaction on the webinar. I'd be very happy to send you a copy of my book, Steps to Win in the Meetings Market. Now, Achilles, we were talking about this, meaningful questions, right? It's not, how is the weather in Ireland today, Ciara? Okay, that's not a meaningful question. It has to be something relevant to our topic. And the answer is, it is sunny with, you know, possibilities of showers, spells of showers here and there. So quite an average day in Ireland. So let me ask you this, guys. What is the biggest challenge, your biggest challenge with this market right now, with conference, meeting, incentive, and event market right now? What is bugging you, perhaps, and what are you really finding is a little bit perhaps more difficult to overcome? Share that with us, because that always helps us to come up with meaningful education sessions also, and we might be able to answer some of those in the workshop today. A problem that I see in the industry right now is that the client, the planner, is not believing you. They're not believing the traditional sales and marketing messages that are being put out there right now. And let me explain that, okay? The great thing about writing a book is that you can call people up and you can ask them almost any question, and they're very happy to answer it. And I've spoken with some really very interesting people in the industry. Now, Shona Suckow, she is the head of SPIN, which is an organization for senior planners. And she said, like, the big thing that she is hearing in her community of a few thousand planners is that they're really not believing the traditional sales and marketing messages that are out there. And, you know, why is that? It's because a lot of them are starting to sound the same. So we want to make sure, in order to overcome this, that we are creating more authentic and believable sales and marketing messages. You know, social media has changed, and social selling has changed the way that we sell and the way that people want to be interacted with. So what we want to do is build more believable, more authentic messages. And let me ask you another question, and you can answer in the chat box. But, you know, who do you think the planner is believing? Who do you think the planner is believing? Achilles, just to let you know, your camera is still on there. I know you had said that you didn't want to have it on all the time.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay, guys, let me tell you this. It's not about how you want to sell. It's about how the planner wants to buy. Okay, and that's critical. That's so critical in terms of what's happening in the industry right now. And if you're selling the same way as you were even 2 and 3 years ago, the client may replace you. You will find that there's a difference in the results that you are getting, because they're looking for different ways, they're looking for different types of relationships. They have changed the way they buy, but have you changed the way that you sell? Okay, and that's a question just to note that down and observe perhaps, and start answering that for yourself over the next few days. So my name is Ciara Feely, and I have created the Steps to Win program. And this is a program all about how the client buys. And what's critical about it is that it's very important to get a yes at each step of the client's decision-making process. And what I've noticed from being on the buyer side is that they buy in a very different way to how you sell. So my background is I'm a hotelier by heart. I have a lot of my work experience from San Francisco, working with IHG Hotels and Omni San Francisco Hotel. And I opened the Omni San Francisco Hotel 3 months after 9/11. So I understand what it's like to work in adverse conditions and in very difficult markets when my whole market was told to stop traveling, basically. And what I realized, though, when I moved back to Ireland 10 years ago and I became the client and went on the agency side, I realized then that I had been trained to sell from the hotel's point of view. And the client thinks and buys in a very different way. So that is the perspective that I bring to you in all of the workshops and in the webinar today. There's a wonderful TED talk by Simon Sinek, and in that he outlines what makes great leaders and great communicators in business, or in life, actually. And there's a very interesting part when he talks about the part of the brain that makes a decision doesn't understand price or facts. It only understands how you make it feel. And you have a wonderful opportunity at these trade shows to really connect on a different level and try to tap into the emotions that are behind the sale, because that will help you ultimately to stand out and sound different. So this is my Steps to Win program, and it is all about how the client buys. So today we're going to talk a little bit about step 1, which is how to stand out and sound different, because that is going to determine how successful you are in getting to further stages of the planner's decision-making process. Because, you know, a lot of planners are just seeing hotels and venues and some destinations and agencies and perhaps technology companies as the same, because we're starting to use a lot of the same terminology. So we really have to stand out and sound different, because otherwise decisions are going to be made based on rate. And I hear that a lot in the various workshops that I run, that salespeople are frustrated that the decisions are coming down to rate. Now, budget is important, but planners would say to me, if the team hasn't done a good enough job in distinguishing their venue and showing how they're going to get different results from working with that venue or that destination or that particular service, then of course they're going to make a decision based on rate. You would too, okay? So it's up to us. Sales is about leadership, and we want to gently be able to lead the sales conversation and take back control. And Justine Thomas is a lady who runs a PCO and a destination management company out of Dubai. And she likes what I do so much, she wanted to introduce me to a number of hotels, which she did. And then she liked what she was seeing in them so much that she said, please, Ciara, come and train my team. She has a team of 25 agents in Dubai. But what she said is, and she's on the buyer side, that the steps to win help you to make that client journey that much better. And of course, convert more business. And I think making the client journey that much better is a critical part also. In this cycle of the market that we're in right now, it is very much about building that client loyalty and making sure that we're building brand loyalty also. And of course, that is that's ultimately going to help us to get better rates and have a little bit more fun in our role, right? So Achilles, we decided to include this because it was really important that this came up on the last webinar that we ran for IMEX Frankfurt, when we asked this, okay, what are your expectations from attending events? Do you have an idea of your monetary goals, of the number of leads, or the number of meaningful connections? And why we wanted to include at this time was because we were quite alarmed at some of the answers that we got in the last webinar. Because one person who had never been to the show before expected to make 75 meaningful connections at the show. Now, just to let you know, guys, that would be a phenomenal result, but also probably quite impossible to do that, to make 75 meaningful connections. You might meet 75 people, but will they all be meaningful connections? So we just want to make sure that your expectations are realistic, and of course that you've thought them through, because if we don't write them down, then how are we going to measure the success of it? And I say this from personal experience, from my days in hotel sales. I had one general manager in particular who expected an awful lot from attending trade shows. And the minute I got back, he would come straight into my office and, how many leads did you get, Ciara? And how many proposals are you sending out? And how many this and how many that? I was like, whoa, 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 Mike, that is not always a realistic expectation from these shows. If the client is going to start a relationship and do their research, don't expect a load of proposals. Will you get proposals? Yes, absolutely. I'm quite sure you will. But don't walk away saying, oh, the show was useless because I didn't get 10 proposals. What you do after the show is going to be critical in nurturing the client, in nurturing the relationships, and proving your worthiness to get to the next step in their decision-making process. And I see a lot of people just not do the right kind of nurturing campaign after a show, and maybe the client just isn't ready yet to buy. And they kind of throw it away and dismiss it, and that's a waste of money. So we want to make sure that we're building a healthy sales funnel, but that you have realistic expectations also from this show. So are there any numbers coming up there, Achilles? Are people replying to this in terms of their monetary? Nope. Okay.
No, we don't have any comments coming in. Just a reminder, when we do ask a question, obviously do feel free to type it in. It really helps us as well understand what everyone watching is kind of looking for. So we kind of tailor this presentation as we go on. So we really would appreciate your comments, everyone.
Yes. Now, I had this in the workbook, so hopefully people are writing it in their workbook. It's important to do that, have a think about it, but then also feel free to share that in the chat box, because the more people that share it, the more interesting it'll be to see what other people's expectations are. My big expectation for you guys is to get a second meeting. And I think that that is a really successful outcome from these shows, because it'll show and say that you were interesting enough to get to that next step in their decision-making process. You have a limited time at these shows to make an impression, and you really just want to make the right amount of impression that they'll say, do you know what, I would love to continue this conversation, and can you follow up with me or whatever. And I'd like to reiterate this to you guys, because it's important to be able to get to that second meeting. Some people rush the sale a little bit too much and go perhaps straight into talking all about their hotel, their venue, their service, their destination. The client may not be ready for all of that yet. They're trying to figure out who will they give their time to, their precious time to, and you want to make the right impression that they want to have that second meeting with you. And we're going to share some tips with you on how to do that. But a realistic expectation, if you have a GM who's very anxious like that, talk to him about this also. Because what's critical to do at this step of their decision-making process is to build trust and confidence with the client. Now, this is a picture of my dad and me. And, I just remember that feeling of elation when he was throwing me up into the air. And of course, I had 100% faith and confidence that he would catch me. And the client, when you think about it, when they engage with you, they're wondering, can I trust them with my reputation? Because that's what they're doing when they book an event with you. Can I trust you with my reputation? That's a question in their head. And of course, they're effectively placing the brand of their organization over the brand of your company. And brands cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to build. So it takes a certain amount of trust building and confidence building in order to gently be able to move to the next step. And it's a people industry, guys. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And I know some of you would probably say, but what about the technology, Ciara? What about these ERFPs? Yes, they are using that as a filter, but you want to be interesting enough and compelling and of value to them to get to the next step. At these shows, right, there's so much going on. I remember walking into IMEX America last year and just listening for a minute to the buzz, the roar almost of people talking and business happening, and the energy was electric. But on an average day, guys, we are subjected to an overload of information, the equivalent of 174 newspapers of data a day. And then you go to these shows and they're meeting and meeting and meeting, and they're constantly hearing stuff over the course of 3 days. And it can be overwhelming and it's hard to retain it all. So we want to make sure that we're not just throwing a lot of more information at them. Blair is a girl that I did some work with in preparation for one of these shows, and I shared with her some of what I call my killer questions and how to really just warm up a conversation and be compelling to the client. And she found this. Well, she felt more confident with her one-to-one client appointments, which of course is always a very important outcome. But most importantly, one planner said to her, do you know what? You are a breath of fresh air, and thanked her for not reciting a lot of property information and being interested in them. And that's a really successful outcome because that led to a lot more business for Blair, okay? Trust, guys, trust builds community. And a lot of marketing and sales campaigns are about just making noise and being out there. And just, I hear hotels and venues come to me all the time, Ciara, if only more people knew about us, we'd be fine. And I don't agree. It's about building that warm level of trust and confidence so that you're attracting the right kind of leads. You need to be spending your time converting the leads that are yours to convert and not attracting wasteful pieces of paper that you know when you receive those leads, you know it's a waste of your time, but it's still going to take you 2 hours to fill it out and put it in the system and all of that. And that's frustrating. So we want to attract more of the right kind of leads and build better business relationships. That's the foundation of these shows. That is what is going to give you a rock solid foundation to your sales success and to finishing off 2017 very successfully and having a fabulous start to 2018 and years to come. It's about building better business relationships, and these shows give you a unique opportunity to do that. So, quick question, guys. What are some of the problems that you're hearing from planners right now? Are you able to have these kind of conversations with them? Is there anything going on in their world you think that they are concerned about? Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick minute and see is there any questions there, Achilles, that I need to be looking at. So perhaps type the answer to this one in the chat box, guys.
Yeah, we have a couple of comments in the Q&A area, but we've also got a question, just a general one, saying how can we attract the right clients?
Yeah, and key to that will be the sales tools that you are creating, the level of research that you are doing in knowing who are the right clients. I do a whole section on client profiling. And are you crystal clear on who are the profitable clients for your business, for your hotel or venue, for your particular type of service? And it's really very interesting when you drill down to get into this. Who are the profitable pieces of business? Because that's what every general manager wants right now. That's what the business owners are looking for, the management companies. It's about securing the profitable pieces of business. So that creating the right kind of sales tools will help you to attract more of the right kind of clients. But you being super clear on who they are, once you are, it's easier to know where those people hang out and what's important to them and how to attract them. So I'll do a little bit more on the right sales tools in another few minutes. Okay, so I'll just go back into screen share and we'll keep going. So what we want to avoid, guys, is building a leaky sales funnel, and that can happen all too easily, and it does indeed happen. I made that mistake when I first started out in this new business 4 years ago in attracting some of the wrong kind of leads, and it takes your energy, it takes your time, it takes your focus. And we really want to be making sure that we are super clear on the right kind of leads for your business. So we're going to take a look at descriptions, which is going to help you initially to attract more of those kind of appointments. But let's look at our conversation in the industry also. And are we talking about return on investment versus cost and price? Because there's a lot of talk about cost, price, rates, budgets, you know all those words, you hear them every single day. But let's turn it and let's start talking about a return on investment. I'm loving this step or the stage that our industry is in right now, because it's all about an experience design and a meeting design, as opposed to how many people will your conference room fit. And we need to be able to gently turn and curve the conversation to really delve into, you know, the emotions behind it, what's most important the client delivers through working with you. So let's look at a few top tips here. We're doing okay on time. Again, any questions, just feel free to pose them. So we're going to take a look at what to prepare, what to do during the event, and of course after the event. And some of these tips are general networking tips that you can apply to any of the events that you go to, whether you're a site member, MPI member, Chamber of Commerce event, whatever that may be. So you can always ask for a list of attendees. You won't always get it, but sometimes you do. You won't get their contact information, but how fantastic is it if you walk into a networking event and you've already made some appointments? That's the beauty of IMEX. That facility is there for you. You want to know who on that list you want to meet with, of course, and are you spending that critical time right now trying to get those set up? Are you availing of the wisdoms that Achilles and the team have been sharing in their education webinars in order to figure out how to do this? And of course, automatically through the system, you can connect with people and connect with them on LinkedIn as well. Don't be afraid to use a number of different avenues. If you are looking for more education on this, Achilles and his team have been rolling them out, and you'll be able to get them on this link. You're posting that link in the chat there, perhaps, Achilles, are you? So people can just click in.
Absolutely, I can do that.
Good. So now, guys, I've been going through the listings of the exhibitors, and I love that. I love the description in this one. The description is critical to making somebody click and want to meet. Okay, and is it a boring description that you sound like every other destination or venue out there, or is it interesting? So what I loved about Nashville Music City is, and I'm not sure if they're on the webinar or not, but just listen to this for bringing a little bit of personality and helping yourself to stand out. With the assistance of our knowledgeable, connected professionals at Nashville CVC, you won't be singing solo as you plan your Music City meeting. We are here for you from the initial rehearsal to the final performance. I just love it. It suits their personality and what Nashville is all about perfectly. The city's creativity and friendly Southern hospitality will not only make your planning experience a chart topper, your attendees will call it a hit. So well done to whoever composed that one. Of course, they can add an awful lot more photos. There's room for more photos here, guys. Make sure you fill out every aspect of this. Press release, I say here, 0. Make one up, guys. Make one up. Put something interesting in there, okay? You have to have a press release from some time over the last year or two. Put in a video. Link to YouTube, whatever. There has to be loads of videos out there. Put in a video. And events, just put something in there again. Invite them to come, whatever, have a, whatever at the stand. There's something probably going on at your stand if you're attending on a big show. Just put something in there. Everybody is welcome, okay? And this was one that I took from a previous webinar. These guys attended the IMEX Frankfurt, but it was a great example, so I wanted to show it to you. So this is for Destination Bristol, named one of the best cities to visit by Rough Guides and winner of the best place to live in the UK by the Sunday Times. So what's great about that is that's not just them saying that. That is other people that have said that about them. And that's more believable when somebody else says this about you. So, if a city is voted by its own people as a great place to live, that immediately says an awful lot. It doesn't necessarily apply to our industry for a conference, but it's saying immediately that it's a warm, welcoming, great, fun vibe place to live, okay? And to be in, rather. So again, they're talking about their international airport, but they're saying that it makes it easy for people to get there, okay? And then, of course, wide range of hotels. So, this here could be a little bit more uplifting perhaps, but this was a very strong start, and you want a strong start to make people click in. Don't leave your most interesting nugget to the end. You got to put it right at the beginning, because you have 2 or 3 lines to get people to want to click and read more and perhaps make an appointment. So I've also been going through and looking at what is the most common language in people's descriptions out there. And it's this: conveniently located, memorable experience, founded in whatever, 19 whatever, the 3rd largest hotel group perhaps, tradition of being family-owned company, tell me what is great about being a family-owned company, okay? A large, modern, multi-purpose event venue in the center of wherever, okay? Every other large, modern, multi-built event venue is saying that. You have to change the language to pop out and be a lot more interesting to the client. And I know I did this in my sales days, in my hotel sales days, that I literally just copy and pasted from a website description or a brochure or something. And it's just not good enough, guys. If you're not happy with the amount of appointments that you are generating, you've got to change your description and just take it up a notch. In general, at the show, the better quality questions we ask, the better quality answers you're going to get. And this is critical to your whole sales approach. I do a whole module again on this, but it's really important to get this right. And it works. Michael trained his team. They had a client who came in for a walk around, like a show around just off the street. And what was critical was the team had done some work, and we had gone through kind of questions and really interesting conversation and where to spend time with the client. And they converted a deal for monthly training worth hundreds of thousands to their hotel. They changed their approach, they changed their conversation. You change your conversation, you're going to change the results that you get in this market. Go out there, guys, and be talking and anxious to build advocates rather than prospects, okay? You all, 62% of you said word of mouth marketing is really important. That's building advocates. Don't go out there looking for targets and prospects. We've got to change the way that we're speaking about the kind of people that we want to attract, okay? And think about your killer questions. Think about the questions that you want to ask. What information do you want to walk away with? But most importantly, what's the impression that you want to leave a client with? And to highlight this to you, a director that I did some work with in her company, she brought out 2 sales managers to a client meeting with her. One of them had gone through the steps to win training, the other hadn't. And she observed the client and how she reacted with the 2 sales managers who were asking questions. The person who was trained, the client leaned forward and was really interested and opened up and answered a lot of her questions. The person who wasn't trained was asking kind of more sharp short questions, kind of more yes and no questions, and the client, she observed, was moving away, you know, and she was a lot more uncomfortable with that. So you want to be engaging, you want to position yourself as being of value to the client. So before some of you ask me, okay, Ciara, give me some questions, I'll give you 2 out of my 30 list of killer questions. And these are really compelling questions. What are the challenges in your industry or role right now? What are the challenges? Or why has the event been organized? And get them to open up and tell you about that. So tell me, guys, I've been talking now for a little bit. How am I doing? Is this making sense? You know, shout out some love there on the chat, or say, no, Ciara, this is useless. Whatever it is, give me a little bit of feedback and let me know, okay? Another tip, prepare your answers to the usual questions, such as, what do you do? Okay, most people will literally say, oh, I'm, just to take a hotel example, I'm sales manager, sales director at, you know, whatever hotel. But answer, it's a lot more interesting, it's a lot more compelling to get to the person who, to get them to want to ask you another question, to answer something like, well, I helped an event planner increase their satisfaction scores by 10% last week. Okay, if you're talking to a planner, they're going to want to say, tell me more. Okay, give an interesting answer, and of course prepare that answer. What other events have they run? Check them out on social media. They will want to know that you took the time to research them. And of course, prepare your social proof, okay? Go there with testimonials, because they're not necessarily believing you, but they're going to believe other people. So prepare your testimonials right now. This is a classic networking tip, guys, about the name badge. Okay, so you're going to get your lanyard card, and most people just hang it down. And for women, it kind of falls around the chest area, or down, at your belly for men. And you really don't want people looking down there to try and figure out what your name is. Your name badge should go right up here on your the top of your right hand shoulder. So when you are shaking hands with somebody, the eye will naturally be able to see your name. And I suggest that you make your first name, I make my own usually, make your first name as big as possible, because there's a lot of social activities at these events. Or somebody might spot you in a crowd from a little bit away, and they might have met you before, and they might be thinking, oh, what's their name? What's their name? It's all happened to us before, right? And you want to make it as comfortable as possible for people to come right up to you. And of course, it's going to be easier when you can read somebody's name from a distance. But you're meeting hundreds of people at these shows. Maybe you're not going to remember on Wednesday who you met on Monday, but having a big name badge will definitely help. And it's about making it easy for people to come up and say hello. Know their industry lingo. And I had somebody ask a question about this: how do I get more pharmaceutical business? Well, first of all, you got to show and prove that you really know and understand that market, because it is different, and the planners in that market really want to work with people who get them, because there's such restrictions with compliance and all of that. Like they face fines of millions of dollars if they don't bring in their budget or their event within a certain budget and done in a certain way. So you got to know and prove, understand their lingo and what's most important to them. There's some great courses that you can do on that. But abstracts, for example, would be words that they use as opposed to, an exhibitor. They have to submit abstracts and all of that kind of stuff. So know and understand. There's a different language for the finance, the IT, the tech industry, and the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. Did the name badge. Show the personality of your business. Don't be afraid to bring a little bit of your business to the show. We're all, interested in something that's interesting, and, help yourself to pop out. Now, this is Aki, and she attended the webinar that I ran earlier in the year for IMEX Frankfurt, and she took this to heart. She literally brought and was the only person on the Japanese stand who wore the traditional dress, the kimono from Japan. And did that help her to attract people to come right up and want to speak to her? Absolutely it did, because everybody else was just dressed in a regular suit. And yourself in our industry, a lot of people wear the gray or the black, corporate looking suit. So she did, of course, stand out, because if a planner wants to bring an event to Japan, they want to feel like they're in Japan. So it made a big difference. And I went and I visited her, and she was just delighted. It was her first time to have attended that. So bring plenty of business cards, guys, ideally with a photo on it. And I like to put my business cards in a different shape. Again, it helps to stand out. Dress with something that distinguishes you. Consider color. And I like to wear, a flower or a scarf or something interesting that perhaps people can comment on. It's kind of part of my branding, but it definitely helps to make yourself that little bit more attractive for people to just start a conversation with a complete stranger. Connect with them now. And that's the fantastic thing about social media. You can link in with them, tweet them, whatever, and connect with the guys at IMEX also, because they're very active right now. They've started conversations online, and some of the planners are engaging, or some of the people that you want to connect with. So it's much easier to have perhaps done that share, like, all of that kind of stuff, guys. Okay. Stand outside your stand. We're in the hospitality industry. People want to feel welcome. So if you're expecting them, don't be standing behind a desk, because that forms a barrier. Be be ready, be welcoming, as if you're welcoming them to your business. And at the show, take a look at social media, see who's tweeting, see who's sharing and who's talking, and try to join in the conversation. Because again, that can help to generate people to your stand at the show. Attend the education sessions. There's a fantastic lineup of workshops on Smart Monday. And so go along to them, see what are the topics for the planners, and attend some of them also, because that's a very informal way to connect with them and to find out what's interesting and going on in their world. And of course, be conscious of phone activity. I'm always observing this at trade shows, and I walk around, and it's amazing the amount of people that you see like this and just on the phone. I know that you need to stay connected and check your email and all of that, but perhaps just take a minute and just step slightly away from your stand so that people aren't seeing you constantly disengaged. Planners say it to me all the time. If I see somebody on their phone, just head down, I keep walking. It's not going to make them compelling to come and say hello. So, you know, be there with welcome, with a welcome smile on your face. It can be hard to do for 3 days, but you know what? You can collapse on the Friday when you get home, and you'll have earned that break. And again, hang out in some of these education sessions going on the Monday. Be a partner rather than a supplier. But of course, the number one rule is not to sell, because, you know, no one goes to a general networking event to buy something, okay? And too often you hear people breaking into a sales pitch far too early, and it kind of puts people off. So in general, for networking, avoid selling. Act like a host rather than a guest. You know, there's a lot of evening events, and a lot of people in our industry are quite shy, and they're uncomfortable going to these events, and maybe they don't know people there. So if you see somebody standing on their own and they're looking a little hesitant and like, oh, I want to run out the door straight away, walk up to them. And that could be the best contact that you've ever met, but they certainly will be relieved that you were that person. Now, it also happens that you can get caught talking to the same person for too long at these social events, right? So have an exit strategy. And I'll give you one tip on that. A good one to make yourself look good also is ask them, who do they come here to connect with? Perhaps you can introduce them to somebody. And if not, just kind of grab the next person and say, oh, let me introduce you to whoever. Stay for a minute, and then you can gently move on, okay? You'll walk out of that one looking good also. But most of all, guys, agree your next step. Always know the next step. And that's a big downfall at a lot of these shows. People just say, yeah, send you a proposal. Yeah, I'll send you an email. I'll call you. And it's too general, and it usually doesn't happen. So how are we doing there, Achilles? We're coming up to 10 minutes to the hour. Is there anything else that I need to address there? I still have more tips, but I just wanted to check in.
Just a few more comments in the Q&A area, and we've got some questions as well. Someone asked, did you want to address some questions?
Sure, I can, yeah.
Someone's just asking, first-time exhibitor at IMEX, suggestions on what's not to do?
Okay. Well, I think I saw that one was asked at 4:30, so I probably have answered that in the latest tips. But you know, quick recap: be careful of your phone activity, mind your descriptions, and don't be too eager to sell. Okay, don't be too eager. Focus on the relationship and what's interesting to the client. Okay, will I continue on, and then we'll just leave some time towards the end? Probably the number one reason that more salespeople don't convert more leads is due to lack of follow-up. And it's amazing, really, that this is very common in our industry. A lot of salespeople can give up after one or two attempts, whereas maybe it's just not the right timing for the client. And we want to make sure that we have an effective follow-up strategy built in, because it can take 5 to 13 contacts with a client before they are ready to buy. So quick recap: prepare your questions, prepare your killer questions, guys. Okay, I have a whole workshop on your questioning technique and your conversation style with clients. Prepare your answers to questions. Know and understand their events. What have they done before? Bring your social proof. Okay, so that first person there who hasn't been before, don't not prepare. Make sure that you're prepared for IMEX, because it's a fantastic show and a fantastic opportunity to meet people. Know the industry lingo, show the personality of your business, dress appropriately with something that distinguishes you. Connect with them now on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course using the app and the technology set up for you, and agree the next step. Because it's critical that at the very early stages of their decision-making process, that you are standing out and sounding different to the client. So I said we'd briefly talk about tools, but strategy gives you direction, but it's the right sales tools. That's what's going to help you to get there quicker, particularly in this market. And you have to prepare them from the client's point of view, because in my hotel sales days, I just could not see this. Yes, we had a sales brochure. Yes, we had our website and all the rest. But the big difference is that they were prepared from the hotel's point of view. And I just did not see the massive difference that there is until I went to the client side and I started to think and see my business from the client's point of view. And everything changes then, because they don't care about your business, whatever that may be. They care about their problems. And the new competitive edge, guys, is this: it's thinking like a customer. And are you positioned to do that? Are you stepping back? Are you giving yourself the space to be able to think like a customer? So guys, we're coming up to 10 minutes to the hour. We still have some important stuff to share, and of course, we have to find out who is the winner to the book on Steps to Winning the Meetings Market. But let me ask you this, guys. Water boils at 100 degrees. My favorite thing to do with boiled water is to have a cup of tea. Okay, love a cup of tea. I'm very Irish. But what can happen if you up the temperature by just 1 degree? What happens to boiling water? It turns to steam. And what can you do with steam? Well, you can power an engine. You can power a steamboat. So I'm asking you, what is the difference that upping what you do by 1 degree, what could that make to your business? Well, with Tunde, they started getting results within a few months. They doubled their sales in September last year over the previous year. They upped a lot of what they did by 1 degree. And for your time that you've invested, the 45 minutes, the 50 minutes, guys, what is the one thing that you're going to do that's going to help you to get to that next level? Because we always want to get to that next level, right? And I'm going to ask you to take a minute and write that down, okay? Because again, it's going to help you to commit to it. Think back over all that we've discussed in the last 50 minutes, and what's the one thing that you're going to do? Again, I have that printed out for you there in the workbook if you want to just write that down. And of course, write it down in the workbook and share it with us in the chat box. Of course, one step is if you're interested in a copy of my book, because I do point out in that how to stand out and sound different, how to build some of your power sales tools, and how to write proposals that win, because you're going to be sending out a lot of proposals after IMEX, and you want to make sure that they are winning ones. Because key, guys, is that this is not about how you want to sell, it's about how the planner wants to buy. Okay. Now, see, there's a lot of a number of questions coming in there, and I want to make sure that I get some more time to that. But guys, if you're still, if you're still not clear, if you'd like a clear idea of the one thing that's going to make a difference to your approach, to what you're doing in this market, not just for this show, but for, the next number of months, feel free to set up a gap analysis call with me, and you'll walk away after 30 minutes with a clearer idea of just that one thing. I don't want to overwhelm people. We want to figure out what's the one thing that's going to make a difference. Let's get that done, and then let's move on. Okay? So have we any other questions there, Achilles?
Nothing else you haven't answered, Ciara. I've already answered a few questions privately, which had to do more about the back end of things, how to complete certain sections on your profile, etc. But you've answered pretty much any question I can see here already.
Okay, cool. Well, if anybody wants to connect, these are our emails and contact information there. Okay, so you've got Achilles. If you've got more IMEX specific stuff about your descriptions, your listing, all of that kind of stuff. And for me, you can call me in the Q&A box there if you'd like to avail of that that gap analysis call, or in general, feel free to email me. Look, guys, you have been fantastic. Thank you so much for your attention and for everything that you have shared. I wish you wonderful success, and of course, have a lot of fun at IMEX America and in Vegas. And we'll see you perhaps on the next webinar. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Yeah, thank you very much for joining. Joining sessions like these is very much the first step to having a good show, so we really appreciate it.
Cool.
Take
Oh,
care.
so I see
Bye.
here Sean is saying a big one for them. Great points and reminders. Be engaged. Yeah, if everybody can be engaged, that would be wonderful. Absolutely. Okay, cool, guys. Thanks a million. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.